All right, so I did not have a chance to be able to film this with anyone else, so I'm just going to go through it and describe how I would have practiced this with somebody if I had someone to film with. The treatment I'm going to be using is voluntary stuttering. And the reason why I chose this treatment and why it is effective is because it teaches kids to purposefully stutter, and it helps them stutter in a way that is within their control and can help decrease fear and anxiety around stuttering by being able to alter it based off of what they need. Like if they need to practice, if their stutter is pretty severe and they need to practice what a more severe stutter and a realistic situation and what that would look like, then that is something that they would be able to do with this. If they have a lot of tension and have difficulties with blocks and like very long instances of stuttering, then they can integrate this into it. So it's just very flexible and can be very easily tailored to fit the child. So it should feel very natural when they are stuttering. It should feel and sound like a real stutter, and this can really help the naturalness and realness of how the stutter should feel and sound is why it should be very effective in reducing fear and anxiety in potential instances of stuttering. And the kids can practice the pseudo stuttering in instances similar to what they are really scared of. So, for instance, if they're having a presentation and they're worried about stuttering, then they can use pseudo stuttering, voluntary stuttering, to practice their presentation with instances of stuttering that are within their control. What's nice is that they can really play around with it, and so that's why it can sound so natural, is because if one kid just has like prolongations, they can do that. If they have really long instances of stuttering or very rapid sound syllable repetitions, they can practice that, and it can really it's not a one size fits all treatment, so it can really be tailored to the kid, and it should sound like and match their kind of stuttering. One really important thing about voluntary stuttering is, as clinicians, we have to be able to contribute the same social risk that we would be expecting the kids to by being out like very forward with their stuttering. So if you're like in a private practice or in a school, then going outside of the therapy room, whether into the community or just into other areas of the school, and as a clinician, you would be modeling how to pseudo stutter. So that way you're showing the kid that this isn't a taboo thing, that you are willing to have this embarrassment also by stuttering in public or in front of these other people, and that it really helps normalize the experience for them, and that like even though you don't stutter, if you're a clinician who doesn't stutter, then you are able to do that. So, for instance, the school that I work at has a coffee shop close by. So that would be something that you could do in a therapy session with a kid. Sorry, my dog is scratching himself on where my computer is propped up. Then you could go and have them order like a hot chocolate or a tea or something that they would naturally drink. If it's a high schooler and they drink coffee, then that would be something that they could do. So just for example, I would say, may I please have a soy latte? And then I could give my name and stutter on that, or you can really play around with it. And when I did my pseudo stuttering assignment in undergrad, we went to a coffee shop and ordered our favorite coffee. So I think that would be a very tangible thing of something that is a very real life fear for some people of going to this and saying, like, stuttering on their name or stuttering on something that they really enjoy ordering, and practicing not avoiding that stutter and ordering what they want, even if they do stutter while they're doing that. So when I would be teaching a kid this, I would explain all of this to them, and then I would start with a demonstration of me pseudo stuttering and have them raise a finger or tap the table or make a tally every time they heard one of my instances of stuttering so that they can be able to identify those instances of voluntary stuttering and how and then they could evaluate me on it and how if it was natural or if it wasn't natural, and then give feedback so that way they are also acting as the expert in teaching me as well as me teaching them. And I think approaching it with that from a very equal footing is really important, especially when you're working with older kids in such a sensitive social situation. So, just to kind of start wrapping up, the main things that the resource pointed out, there were three really important things with voluntary stuttering. It needs to be on purpose, it needs to be early on in an interaction, and it needs to be noticeable and mimic real stuttering. And I think those are three very important things to focus on when you're looking at pseudo stuttering or voluntary stuttering. And I think it's really a really important thing to have because it can a really important technique to use with kids because it can be really freeing for them and they don't have to get super hyped up in all of the anxiety and all of the fear and all of the negative emotions, and it can be a way to really practice using the techniques that you're asking them to use, or it's a way to practice what's the worst case scenario and how what would happen if you stuttered in this situation or when you stutter in this situation. Let's practice with this, and then you can really see how, okay, even if you do or when you do stutter, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. So once again, I'm sorry I wasn't able to actually film this with somebody, but hopefully I was able to describe how I would interact with this kid and provide rationales that I would be able to explain to the kid and demonstrate, and ways that it could be used outside of the therapy setting. All right, thanks.